Greetings from the city of brotherly love. I am Fernando Mendez, host of the Roundtable. We invite you to listen to our discussion of the themes of the day when we bring you regional, national, and international news. Amigos oyentes de Usala Media, estamos aquí de nuevo con su programa La Mesa Redonda, The Roundtable, desde el corazón de la ciudad del amor fraternal and sisterly affection. Les habla Fernando Mendez en compañía de Britt Carpenter. Vamos a tener un programa hoy sobre varios temas políticos, deportes, temas sociales, etc. Este programa lo dirige Dylan de Rosato en compañía de Dan Ramos. Britt, good morning.
Morning.
What's up?
Not much.
No?
No. It's a good day out.
Thank you for accompanying us today.
Sure. Always
so,
fiddle.
This is the anniversary
Of?
81 years since Pearl Harbor.
Okay.
And so we have a clip of when Roosevelt spoke, and he said, December 7, a day which shall live in infamy, because that was a Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, which got the United States into the war.
Right.
The Japanese, at some point later, said, we awoke a sleeping giant. And, that energized this country tremendously. The machinery of government, the factories, everything sort of geared towards the war effort.
Right.
And that, that impetus continued into the 50s. That's what they say is the greatest generation, because they actually built this economy from that point on.
Okay.
It's an amazing achievement.
Have you ever been to Pearl Harbor?
To Pearl Harbor, yes.
You have?
Yes.
You've seen the memorial and you walked out and all that?
Yes. Actually, I didn't go into they say a ship there that's buried in the...
Yeah, you sort of walk out on a...
Yeah, right.
Yeah, did you do that?
No.
No. How did you enjoy it? Did you...
Well, I was mostly interested in tourism, not so much at that point I was not so much aware of the historic... I knew about it, but I was not aware that I should be probably walking around and getting more acquainted with what was there.
That's interesting.
I was in a vacation mode. I was not necessarily... I'm not that kind of tourist anyway. I go to Washington.
Right.
I go to the Smithsonian. I walk around. I went to the Vietnam Memorial. And you sort of visit that, and you understand the significance.
Right.
But besides that, if I had a relative who was whose name was there, I would think about that in a different way, I suppose.
I guess, yeah. I get it.
So, did you have anybody in the war?
No, in the war, there was like a great uncle. Actually, it's interesting you say it, because we were cleaning out with my mom and we found some of the dog tags, and my uncle is named after him. My uncle's just named the initials JH, and it was John Henry, so he was in the war. Mm-hmm. I actually had his pea coat through high school, which was really cool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so now I have the dog tags and everything, so yes. And there was through several different wars, but
Yeah. There was a relative by marriage who was in the war, and he was in Patton's army as they invaded Italy to sort of save Europe from Hitler. But the people who fought in that war, many of them didn't want to talk about it, especially if they were involved in serious combat. Somehow they were not all that vocal about what happened and what they could see.
Trauma. A lot of trauma.
Yeah.
I think people forget that, regardless of what war they're fighting in. Trauma. Tons of it.
Remember the Korean War, the same thing, the Vietnam War especially, which is more fresh in our minds, I think.
Well, and the Vietnam War displaced more people than anything. it caused more substantial mental health. That's where there was a lot of explosion in homelessness of
Right.
the vets, and that's where you still see it, but now you see a trickle over, and it just gets, there's a progression, Shame. It's a shame. We would think that the country would have a little bit more support.
It depends. Well, see, here's one thing. Because this whole thing about Republicans and Democrats in power and who's going to do more for the people. And then Democrats under Johnson, LBJ in the mid-60s, the war on poverty, you said like, wow, finally, put real money behind solving homelessness.
Right.
And paying decent wages so people can sustain themselves and all that. And yet, here we are, decades later.
Still saying the same thing?
And worse sometimes, because the gap has increased. There wasn't a time in this country where you could see poverty, but not like this. You have to go to certain parts of the country to find poverty, the type that you see in
Now you just got to go 3 blocks over.
Right, exactly.
No matter where you live.
Yeah.
Whatever part of the city or country.
East, west, north,
Right.
south, and
It's all.
you find.
But back to the clip that you said you had for, in honor of Pearl Harbor. You had
Yeah.
the clip?
Well, we had it.
Yeah. Were you watching it? Did you ever see that whole speech?
I've seen a lot of it over the years. It's a very important speech at that point.
It absolutely is.
One of those historic events. So many presidents have those key moments. Some leaders, not just our presidents, but like Winston Churchill, with London under attack, and he actually showed stamina and he motivated people and all that. So
Churchill was a cool dude.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and we had, look, we're talking about Latin America and wars and all that. JFK, you have to go that far back to see a president who actually put real money into helping the poor people in Latin America. JFK gave $20 billion in 1961 money, $20 billion to Latin America. And they built schools, roads, improved airports, money for education to feed poor children. It was amazing. 20 billion at that time was a lot of money.
This is the first time I ever hear something like this.
Yeah.
Why isn't this something that you learn about?
I don't know.
You learn about all the negative about it, and the assassination of, and the whatever, the Playboy philanthropic ways of them, but you don't hear.
But that is why he was so popular in Latin America. People were actually crying in the streets. I remember distinctly, I was in between classes, and when the announcement came that he had been killed, and you could see people in the streets crying, distressed. He was very much admired. He had been in Colombia, he'd been in Venezuela at that point.
64?
63.
63.
November 22nd, 1963.
Yeah. No, I wasn't around then.
Yeah.
I was around. I remember I was in the hallway, 5th grade in the hallway at school, and I heard over the radio about John Lennon.
Right.
Never heard of the assassination of the president. Heard about, of course, Ronald Reagan being shot, over that. But that must have been a very surreal moment.
It was, especially that you didn't know what the consequences of that would be for the country if he was killed. Because, this country had always reacted in sort of, it would mourn, like during Kennedy's death, it was mourning 1968 with Martin Luther King and Bobby Kennedy, there was more of that pain and crying and all that. But it's very resilient. It's a very resilient society to come back from that and continue trusting, believing in the system, going back to vote, going back to your job and thinking, I'm going to produce for this country, I'm doing this. And what was destructive of the Trump years, 4 years that brought lack of faith in our government, lack of faith in the institutions, lack of faith in the media.
Lack of faith in each other.
That was his legacy, and it's unbelievable that this guy's still around, threatening to run again. I mean, I actually hope he runs, because I don't care who the Democrats put out, because they say Biden may not do it, but I don't care who it is.
I think it's time for another party to be in office. I think, the Democrats and the Republicans have spent their time. There's other parties out there that are...
But where are they? Where is their vitality? Where are the credibility of these other parties? It doesn't exist. I mean...
Okay, the credibility of the other parties. What about the credibility of the Republican Party with a candidate like Trump?
Or like Herschel Walker.
I forgot about that.
That was the most absurd candidate ever in the history of this country.
Yeah.
The guy could not even put a sentence together. And then he was talking about werewolves and it's like, what are you talking about?
He's on some good meds.
I don't know. It was hit in the head.
And many times.
Also, all the women who came out of the woodwork to say that he financed their abortion, that he paid for them, and they had checks, they had proof that he did it.
And this is interesting. Like, things like this happen and go on all the time. Like that. Why does it take to the point where they want to become a public figure? They already are a public figure, or they want to hold a public office. They should release this information prior to getting this bad.
You think they should come out and say, I'm a candidate for the Senate, and here are all my skeletons?
No, I think the women should.
My skeletons will be marching in front of me. Are you kidding me?
You're just twisting now. I can't even talk to you sometimes. Look at this. You're the worst.
I am?
I know you are.
Why is that?
You really are? No. And why don't you run for office?
Because I have to believe skeletons back there.
Sure of that. I don't want to go in your backyard.
Right.
Did you see tomato plants flourishing for some reason?
Exactly, right? Yeah. So, no.
You're a piece of work.
I'd rather be behind the scenes supporting people.
So let's shift that then, because I'm just going to take control of this here, because this is dragging here for me. And I need some speed.
Geez.
Let's talk about the mayoral race here again in Philadelphia. Let's talk about some of these candidates that are surfacing.
I think somehow in this program, we already trashed the
We did, but
mayor.
I'm going to trash it again because it's even funnier. Now they're going after an entire logo of who they are, the logo for candidacy. Yeah, I get it. That's your mark, but if that's what your focus is, what's going on here?
I don't know.
What's going on?
There are too many candidates right now for mayor.
There are.
And I would say many of them who quit city council to run, they should save themselves, and they should remain in their jobs. They should have stayed there. They have no chance.
What will they do now? What's going to happen with a candidate? I don't know. I'm not going to use any names like Danny O or Helen again. When they don't win, what are they going to do?
Maria Quiñones was not very popular, unfortunately.
Okay, that's wrong verbiage. Not was, is.
Yeah.
I just want to correct you a little bit there. Is not very popular.
Well, I did say that.
No, you said was. She still is not.
Was not popular as city council member. And now she's
Semantics.
a candidate. Well, semantics, I mean, are you kidding me? The way you use the language is how you construct a sentence, a program that requires you to develop ideas, express your ideas, is using words and expressions.
You know what? And maybe I need to understand a little bit. Maria Quiñones Sanchez, I find some good redeeming qualities about her.
Please.
I find
because all I hear is people trashing her. So come on.
Okay, well, I also find some unredeeming qualities about her. So there is a balance.
Let's hear the good ones, please.
Can we start with the bad news first?
No, let's go with
this bad news.
No,
first?
the bad ones have already been exposed by many people.
Okay,
so
the good ones are. Is it almost time for break? The good ones are, she is for the people. That's for sure. She did have the best interest of the Kensington residents when everything was happening with the tracks being turned over and her fighting the city at that point in time. She lost a lot of popular votes with people who were in the harm reduction community and for the homelessness and stuff like that. But she gained a lot of constituents in the residents of Kensington, of Harrogate, those areas that she served,
right,
because she was fighting for them. And as she should be, because that's the people she's serving. So I believe that wholeheartedly.
Yeah, Maria has been on this program, and I know she has a good heart.
Yeah.
I know she has an interest in people. There's a lot of stuff going on politically when you cannot get all the things you want or do the things you wish you could accomplish. She's not alone in city council.
No.
So you need support of other members,
right,
to get anything accomplished. So she did good things. I mean, the whole land, the bank, stuff like that benefits the community. I mean, people want to emphasize the bad things because it's political season. She's a candidate, and that's where all the best stuff comes.
Well, you never hear anybody in politics saying, "Wow, he's a really nice guy."
Yeah, well,
you
say that about Joe Biden. So we're going to take a short break and talk about that on the other side of this break. Señores oyentes de Usala Media, están escuchando La Mesa Redonda. Estoy en compañía de Britt Carpenter, hablando sobre varios tópicos, política, deportes. Vamos a continuar esta discusión. Dylan de Rosato está dirigiendo este programa. Regresamos en un momento. Pagano's Market and Bar has been serving gourmet Italian foods in Center City for 3 generations. Call Matthew Pagano for all your catering needs, and during these difficult times, please mention Fernando Mendez and receive a nice discount along with free delivery. Pagano's also makes the finest gift boxes in the city for all your holiday needs. Visit paganosmarketandbar.com. Señores oyentes de Usala Media, estamos aquí de nuevo con su programa La Mesa Redonda, The Roundtable, desde el corazón de la ciudad del amor fraternal. Estamos en compañía de Britt Carpenter. Dylan de Rosato conduce este programa. Bueno, Britt, during the break estábamos hablando, we were talking about Churchill, and his sense of humor. So there was one, and it's not apocryphal, I think it did happen, that he was known to enjoy whiskey and cigars, anyway, sometimes to excess. And so one lady stopped him and says, "Prime Minister, you're drunk." And apparently his response was, "Yes, ma'am. But I'll be sober tomorrow and you'll still be ugly."
Do you know the lady's name?
No.
Bessie Braddock.
Oh, yeah? Mm-hmm. So you know the joke.
Well, yeah, of course.
Yeah, anyway, so.
I'm schooled.
Yeah.
I'm educated.
So you have any of his other humorous remarks?
Oh, no, I just actually looked that up during break, so that's how I knew who said it.
Thank you for that.
I think that's right.
Bessie Braddock. Yeah. Okay, well, see, now I know that reference. Anyway, he, like so many great leaders, sense of humor was part of his appeal, that he, it was always that he enjoyed the job. He actually thrived on being the leader of the British people during the wartime, and well, later on had difficulty running. But Ronald Reagan also had great jokes. I mean, I'm sure he's not one of your favorite presidents either, but
I wasn't that old then. I was very young.
He was the kind of leader that enjoys humorous remarks. JFK was another one. Apparently, his press conferences, I didn't hear them, but they were always funny and not a tense climate. The most tense conferences, besides the recent ones with Trump, was during the government of Richard Nixon, when after Watergate, he refused to answer questions, and it was always like, no, he was on the defensive, and he made really horrendous remarks like something, if the president does it, it's not illegal. It's like, are you kidding me? So, that'll be Donald Trump was saying like, no, I can just think about those documents being not secret, and now that's automatically
What kind of mentality is that, though, for somebody that is the president of the United States to have? If the president does it,
I know.
That just doesn't make sense to me. That's entitlement beyond entitlement.
Right. But look where we are.
But it's funny, you go back to like Reagan, you talked about him. I wasn't that old, but I was young. I was probably, what was that, 76, 77?
Right.
I was 10 years of age then. And, I think about it like he had a personality, and that came from also probably being an actor.
Yes.
But he also understood politics.
Yes.
So he understood how to work with the people, which is what he understood how to do.
Yeah, he cannot be underestimated in terms of his leadership. He was governor of California.
Right.
A very good governor of California. And before that, he had been the leader of the Screen Actors Guild as an actor. So he had a track record, distinguished track record, unlike other people who served.
Why do you think these actors go into politics? Do you think it's because they have a following already, because people already like who they are or what they've done? I mean, there's a lot of them. Let's face it, there's a lot.
Well, Schwarzenegger comes to mind right away.
Yeah, the guy with the deep voice from the Law and Orders, he was a senator and...
yeah, right.
And
he's dead now. May he rest in peace.
Recently, I liked him though.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's more. Well, then, what do they, do you think they go in to it with the best interests of the people, or do you think they go into it with the best interests of themselves for more, press ops?
I think because they sense that whatever their personalities are appealing to the public, and maybe they can use that to serve. And it's not only actors. I mean, look at Senator Glenn, who had been an astronaut.
Right.
And he used that.
So public figures, we should say.
Yeah, yeah.
But, somebody, and he should use it, because that was something that was, critical to our country.
Right.
Yeah.
What is wrong is when you are sort of a very dumb football player and you decide to run for the Senate. So that's like, wow.
Like a dumb football player who can't put a full sentence together?
I know. Unbelievable. But fortunately, okay, so here we are.
Okay.
The consequence of Raphael Warnock being the senator from Georgia now is that the Democrats have a bigger margin. It used to be that you expected the vice president to come in and break the tie. But with a couple of victories now, and this adds to that margin, they don't have to be afraid. Because remember, during the last 2 years of the Biden presidency, he had to confront not only Republicans, he had two people in the Senate, Senator Manchin and Sinema, who were always the final votes that he had to fight for. And Manchin especially was not always supportive, and his big ego, because now I have the power to either let you pass the legislation or stop you. And he used that. So that power is gone for both of them, for Manchin and Sinema. So I'm happy about that, because that guy was voting with the Republicans a lot of the time, in essence. So
right.
At some point I said, like, why don't you just switch parties, and then it will become very clear where you stand. I thought he should anyway. I'm not a fan of Manchin. Too much of an ego, and I don't know.
That's most of them. That's the majority.
Yeah, I know.
Egomaniac.
I wonder if he's one of those people thinking of running for the presidency.
Let's hope not. Let's just save him some time.
Tell him to stay home.
Yeah, stay home. Stay home.
Save your money.
Even Bernie was smart enough the second time around too. What do you think of that? You think he would have had a shot?
No.
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 There is no way right now that a third-party candidate can go anywhere. And that's unfortunate, but that's the reality. It would have to be somebody so absolutely charismatic that he creates a following on his own without needing the party. And that's, we were talking about Maria Quiñones. One of her powers was that independent of the Democratic Party,
right,
she could get elected. And that's, that's a little bit of traction that other people don't have. So
she also has the vote of some powerful people too. She also has a lot of connections. I mean, she's been a big person responsible for the changing of the area in this area.
Yes.
Moving it in what she calls a progressive way. And it is progressive. But then again, that's where I talk about the good and the bad balance. Like, now it's like all the people that you were for in the community and the residents, is that part of what you're for now, is you're bringing in all this new blood that's going to increase the property taxes? They're reassessing property taxes like crazy anyway here in the city, right? 34%, up to 34%, they want to raise them?
Unbelievable.
And they want to do that in Kensington? Come on. Let's talk about that. Let's think about this though. How is that right?
It's not. But what was, I think that made this government very unpopular, is the fact that it was so quick. They're trying to catch up for years of not doing the right thing. So we were all not paying enough taxes for years and years, and all of a sudden, instead of giving us a short, small increases in real estate tax, was
And do this right now while inflation is at an all-time high, and people can barely even afford to put food on the table. Now you're going to increase their taxes, which will increase rents, which will increase everything else, but you're not going to increase the minimum wage. But hey, let's continue to increase sugary drinks because it's going to help somewhere down the line in education.
Right.
Like, come on, there's so many other wars we fought in this city alone, and they're not doing it the right way, and they're not for the people, because if they were for the people, 33.333% increase.
It's unbelievable.
Would never happen. Never happen. And if anybody out there can tell me that they can afford that 33, and there are people that they can afford it and are okay with it, then talk to me.
Right. But they must have the money, because
people can afford it, but even the ones that can afford it, they're not okay with it, because most people who have the money, how do you think they got their money? Because they're good at saving it. They don't spend it they don't want to spend it on things like that.
Oh, yeah, we know very well that the rich can afford to hide their money.
Yeah, so they're allowed to in this country.
And they're allowed to.
All right.
They send it to the Caribbean someplace.
Yeah, we're up in a rocket ship somewhere.
Or by Twitter. Yeah, so buried $40 billion buried in, I don't know what's going to happen to that.
I will tell you, I don't like the guy. Why? I don't know. Maybe because I'm part of the masses. I don't know. But if anything, he has increased his self-net value by the fact of purchasing Twitter and now monopolizing it as being his own platform to speak, because all these people are flocking to Twitter to read what he's going to do next.
Yeah.
People who haven't been there before, now he's giving a whole new voice to a new platform. Does that make sense? So in a marketing standpoint, genius.
Yeah. But I don't know, because...
But in a way to hurt everybody as a whole, especially everybody who's been, part of that platform forever, that uses it for some really good stuff, not so genius.
Yeah, well, one of the problems is that he has opened it to Trump and other people who actually just like to create chaos.
Well, he is now known as the head twit.
I mean, it's unbelievable. His remarks have not been very bright either. The ones that he's published, it's like, what?
Have you been reading them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he doesn't sound very smart. I don't know. He seems to be savvy enough to be the richest man on earth. Maybe, I don't know. Is he?
You know, I don't think it's that he's savvy enough. I've often been told in my life and in my experience, in my journey, that really successful people that are good, quote unquote, good at what they do are only there because of the people that are below them, helping them to be to that point.
Interesting.
So, like, and I'll give you that example of what I mean. Like I became a campus president of a career and technical college. What did I know about that? Nothing. But I knew people. I knew how to run people. I knew how to lead people. And you form the best team underneath you. They perform and do for you. That increases your value. And that's what he does.
You're saying you're not very smart?
Oh, I'm dumb. Yeah.
Is that a confession?
Totally. Sure.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, smart's relative. Let's do that. Smart's relative. Like, what does an IQ really mean? Like, if I had a high IQ, I'd have zero common sense or street smarts, probably.
But with a low IQ, you can still have.
So with you,
stuff. And let's not talk about me.
This is about
No.
You're allowed to ask a question.
We're talking about you.
Are you smart?
No, I'm not. Not at all.
Just dumb as a door.
I don't know anything. All I do is ask questions because I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's me.
You seem to know a lot when we talk. You know a lot about things that are like irrelevant, like Trump.
I know. See? Little facts.
There's different things like your smart isn't the same as my smart.
No.
My smart's interesting sometimes.
If you're smart, you're smart.
But smart's relative. Let's talk. What is smart? What is smart? You're asking, what is smart? Are you talking IQ, intelligence? Because I'm really not that dumb. I mean, let's face it. Anybody that looks this good with this good hair can't be that stupid.
Anyway, we can talk about that on the other side. We're going to take another brief pause here and maybe talk about more serious subjects than your hair and your
You called me stupid. Anyway, go ahead.
I did not call you stupid.
Basically.
You call yourself stupid.
That's okay. I'm allowed to.
Señores oyentes de Usala Media, estamos en la mesa redonda de Roundtable. Estamos en compañía de Britt Carpenter, hablando sobre varios temas, incluyendo su pelo, que aparentemente es de interés para él. En todo caso, Dylan de Rosato está manejando este programa. No se vayan, regresamos en un momento.
Jason, let's go see your room.
What do you think? We kept it a little spare, so you can decorate it how you like.
Dinner! Go?
Excellent. Soccer is fun. Yeah, I saw you guys out there. We're the family.
Yeah!
Oh, I thought you were on my team.
Señores oyentes de Usala Media, estamos aquí de nuevo con su programa La Mesa Redonda, The Roundtable, desde el corazón de la ciudad del amor fraternal. Les habla Fernando Mendez en compañía de Britt Carpenter. Estamos hablando sobre varios temas políticos y temas sociales y otras cosas de interés, pero quiero cambiar un poquito el tema. So I want to talk about sports for just a brief time.
Okay.
The second stage of the World Cup has just ended. There are 2 days now in which there is no soccer, there's no football. And then the next is Friday and Saturday, and then that will decide who goes into the semifinals and then eventually in December 14, I don't know, December
coming up.
18, whatever.
Next week.
We have the final game. So it looks like the way we're heading right now could be Brazil and Argentina. You never know because Spain was eliminated. That's hard by Morocco. It was a very physical game. Morocco's shown speed and strength and skill. So Argentina is still one of the favorites to win. Spain was one of them. They're out. Germany is out. So we'll see. Croatia, which always surprises, and they were in the finals of the last Cup in 2018 in Russia. Now they might be also heading in that direction here. So it's a good team. They have a couple of players, Luka Modric, who is like, he's the heart of that team. You can see him running all over the field. He plays defense, he attacks, he does everything.
Were you a soccer player?
Yes.
Did you coach soccer as well?
I did.
I thought so. How long did you coach soccer for?
For a long time.
At the prep?
At St. Joe's Prep, yeah.
Okay.
I was an assistant to Jim Murray, and then I also coached the JV on my own for a while. I enjoyed it.
So you grew up playing soccer?
I grew up playing soccer.
That was your sport.
And I played for La Salle. I was in the varsity team. I was one of the stars of soccer at La Salle.
Soccer star.
Yeah.
Who would have thunk it?
Yeah, well, it's brains and power.
Here we go again.
What?
Brains. Power.
Brains and speed and skill.
Did you drink coffee today?
I did. I do that every day, actually.
Can you not start your day without coffee?
I can.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Okay. One serious topic, which is in your purview, in your bailiwick, housing.
Wow.
Housing permits. The headline was housing permits cratered in 2022 after a surge last year. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, there's not that many.
Right.
Why? Do you have any ideas?
Why there's not many out there now?
Yeah.
Probably because everything got so darn expensive, and no supplies can be found anywhere out there. I mean, let's face it, there's supplies that have been waited on for months and months and months. So
yeah, one of the
who wants to
things.
Invest in that now and then hold on to something they can't do anything with.
Interest rates also. That has not helped.
No, but they're supposed to be going down.
Yeah, but I don't know what that means. We will never see the kind of interest rates we saw in the past 4 or 5 years. I don't think.
It's almost like they want people to own a house. They want people to live that dream and have a house and family and all that, but they make it so difficult. Why don't they forgive some mortgage forgiveness, tax forgiveness? They're not, let's have some forgiveness on levels where.
How about taxes? It's not,
get rid of them.
There's no tax as,
Don't get me started on taxes.
Anyway, so here's what I was reading. What happened, the permits went down. That is equivalent to several decades worth of new construction projects. Mm-hmm. Several decades worth of new construction projects. What happened? The answer is a mix of local policy changes and a rough economic climate.
Yeah.
So the interest rates that went up, all that stuff. So the result of that is monthly permits averages in Philly are off by about a third when compared to 2019 and 2020. By a third. So that has a tremendous effect on.
That's
on
a large percentage of them.
Yeah, the total unit count is projected to be the lowest since 2013. And, well,
That's interesting.
yeah,
Almost 10 years?
yep. So housing experts say it is hard to disentangle any one factor from the others, and note that while permits are slower than last year, it's still close to pre-pandemic norms. So anyway, talking about the pandemic, it just changed everybody's lives. Everybody. I think that look what happened to restaurants in this city particularly. Right before the pandemic, Philly was competing with New York, with Washington for the best restaurants. We had some of the top restaurants
We did.
in the country, in this city. We still do.
We do.
But not as many as we had before, and not in the same condition as we had before the pandemic. I mean, there are places that will prosper no matter what. You know, we have a restaurant on Britt Square Park that it seems to be immune to economic, ups and downs.
Do you think it's because of the name, though?
Could be. The location. 18th and Locust Street.
The
It's like
demographic
in the
of
heart.
individuals who dine there?
Yeah. It could be. But also it's like it's a tourist attraction to people come.
Because it's right in the park?
Yeah. Also because of the location. Yeah.
Right.
Obviously. I don't know. But
Right, though. Park Rittenhouse is sustained. So has Devon, though, right next door.
Devon
is like...
and Rouge.
Rouge. Well, Rouge 10 years ago wasn't hopping.
It has always been good. Yeah, it's always been good. Those three restaurants just seem to be the golden block in terms of restaurants.
It's that little row right there.
Yes.
It's that little section of... Real quick, speaking of Rittenhouse restaurants, and have you ever eaten at that Bar Poulet?
Yes, but it's closed. Yeah, it's no longer there.
They closed.
Yeah.
Well, thank gosh I didn't make reservations for my birthday there. That would have been a disappointment.
That would have been this.
It was really good. I'm glad I had a chance to go there.
It was
man.
really good. Yeah.
Wow, it closed?
It's a shame. I don't understand why. It's one of those things sometimes you cannot explain. It could be family, it could be economic troubles that behind the scenes that we don't understand. That always happens.
Well, then the
in
heck
this
with that
kind of-
conversation, because
But-
now I want some fried chicken with dipping sauces. And I'm not talking chicken nuggets either, so.
No, Kentucky Fried Chicken is still one of the best. Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. Anyway,
Did you used to walk down there from the prep?
I love Kentucky
I
Fried Chicken.
bet you did. I bet you went down there and ate every day almost.
No, not every day. No.
A few days a week.
Actually, we had a good cafeteria at the prep. So
I would hope so.
Yes.
For the amount of money.
for the amount of money.
For the amount of money there at that school, they better have a good
Okay.
cafeteria.
Well, anyway,
Yeah.
I wonder, there is a cafeteria sort of in Camden, at Camden Community College.
Oh, you're teaching there.
I'm teaching, yes. And so I am surprised and angry at the prices in that cafeteria. Because, I mean, not everybody can afford the kind of stuff that they have there. And it's very expensive, like $2 for water. No? So, no. But what if you don't? I mean, if you
Well,
if
then you got to
forget
pay
it.
$2 to get it, or you
Exactly.
got to go to the sink and put your
It's ridiculous.
mouth underneath it.
Anyway,
And
and sandwiches and stuff were like
How much are those?
$7.
$7 is
Yeah.
cheap for a sandwich in today's economy.
I don't know. Maybe in your
$10
neighborhood.
and more is usually what you're getting for it.
Yeah. Well,
I got a chicken salad sandwich the other day, and it was more like bread with a blob of chicken salad in it. Here, $10. Have a great day. What the heck's that?
that's really bad for your gourmet taste.
Yeah, well, it was
Yes.
a gourmet chicken salad apparently. Did what do they call you? Do they call you Professor?
Yes. Well, yes.
Professor Fernando
Mendez.
Mendez. Professor Mendez.
Yeah, you never used the first name with
I
Professor.
know they don't, but I would have, just because it sounds so much cooler. It really does. And
Actually,
it flows, Professor Fernando.
in Russia, in Russian, you have to use the whole name. So to ask a question to the president, you say, Vladimir Putin, answer me this. You have to say the whole name.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
So if you were a teacher in Russia, you would say, Professor Britt Carpenter, answer my question, please.
I would want him to use my middle name as well.
What is?
James.
Professor Britt James Carpenter.
Yeah, make it as long as possible.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, you never get to the question then.
That's okay.
That's
That
your
would
plan.
be fine.
Anyway,
Class will be over.
This is really silly. Look, listen, there are very serious things happening right now in the world. Okay? Mm-hmm. You know the January 6th insurrection? Well, Germany has the equivalent right now, a coup attempt in Germany, organized just along the same lines as the coup in Washington. And the government has arrested like 50 people, and some of them give credit to QAnon for their ideas. And they intended, actually, by violent means, to kill some of the government people, to take over, to invade the Bundestag, which is the equivalent of our capital.
Right.
Amazing, in Germany. Mm-hmm. But they caught them.
Have you ever seen that documentary on the QAnon and like?
I've seen a lot of that stuff.
There was one that was recent. I'll send you a link to it, but it's crazy stuff. You know, crazy.
Well, that whole thing was insane.
Yeah.
And what is amazing, that was the opportunity for the Republicans to get rid of the orange stable genius. But they didn't do it. And then, he went to Mar-a-Lago, and then Kevin McCarthy went and put his arm around him and said, don't worry, you're back. Why? Kevin McCarthy has to be one of the worst people ever in politics. No ethics, no backbone, no nothing.
The two of them together, then they complement each other.
Yes, and then you have McConnell also.
Every time you say McConnell's name, I laugh, just because it's
Mitch McConnell.
He's funny. Like,
okay,
what's up with that man?
Okay, let me see.
He's still around.
Let me see. I don't know. And he's there for a long time because he was just reelected.
I know.
Recently. Anyway, so he answered when they asked him a question about what Mr. Trump had posted about doing away with the Constitution. Mm-hmm. His answer was like, anybody who says that may not be able to take the oath of office. He didn't say anything like, really, like, that is totally against what I believe. Mm-hmm. Mitch McConnell says that anyone seeking the presidency who thinks the Constitution should be suspended or not followed, it seems to me, would have a hard time being sworn in as president of the United States. So that was like a circular argument, not saying I really despise Donald Trump for saying the Constitution should be changed or ignored. And so we're going to take another short break here because we have other topics.
Serious topics.
In mind, serious topics, mm-hmm. Not your hair and not your brain.
Oh my God.
So you non-existent brain. Anyway, so we shall return. Estamos en Usala Media. Les habla Fernando Mendez en compañía de Britt Carpenter. And Dylan de Rosato dirige este programa. Vamos a continuar con otros temas de interés para el público. No se vayan, regresamos en un momento.
Jason, let's go see your room.
What do you think? We kept it a little spare, so you can decorate it how you like.
Dinner! Go?
Excellent. Soccer is fun. Yeah, I saw you guys out there. We're the family.
Yeah!
Oh, I thought you were on my team. Wait,
Señores oyentes de Usala Media, estamos aquí de nuevo con su programa La Mesa Redonda de Roundtable. Desde el corazón de la ciudad del amor fraternal, from the city of brotherly love, les habla Fernando Mendez en compañía de Britt Carpenter. Estamos hablando sobre varios temas de interés. So, Britt,
Yes.
going back to our environment here, to our city,
Right. Well,
shootings in Philadelphia, gunplay in Philadelphia. I remarked on the fact that I saw some guy crossing the street carrying a weapon. You could see it clearly. It was not a policeman, or he was a policeman in civilian clothes, but they shouldn't be displayed.
Carrying a gun like that.
Yeah, right. Anyway.
does it matter?
So, shooting victims recorded last week, 27, the week prior. Shooting victims this year, even with last year's pace, 2,183. 2,183 shooting victims in the city of brotherly love.
Let that sink in. You know, and it's the numbers, I mean, the metrics show you, the statistics show you that year over year, it gets worse and worse. And you don't hear too much being done to combat it in the city.
No.
You have great organizations, you have great people, individuals, advocates that are out there. They're being a voice. They're trying to get, you know, it's interesting you say, because I was just looking at one of my good friends, Ross Pichardo. She is an advocate for,
right,
you know, the victims, and she herself is one. And with Operation Save Our City, and I was looking at pictures of us, we would be out there actually with SEPTA Transit Police handing out gun locks at the train stations, you know, and here's two citizens, advocates doing it. You know, this is something the city needs to be doing. There just needs to be more community policing. I believe that since there's not community policing, we're missing out on so much of what's happening in these neighborhoods.
Yeah.
You know, they used to have these little substations. They used to have, you know, a space where there was an officer or two in there where they can go, they can shoot basketball, they can whatever, you know. They don't do that anymore. Now it's become like a me thing, not a we thing. It's also a them against us sort of thing, and it shouldn't be that way. But anyway, and I believe that's where a lot of this can be curbed. Education, awareness, we don't enough of it. You saying these numbers right now, Fernando, and myself being somebody who follows it, it's crazy to hear, but how many of the citizens of our city actually know these numbers unless they're investigating them or looking at them? You don't hear about it talked about quite that often unless it's a shooting, which happens to be every day.
Yes, and also because most of the victims are Black, Hispanic, minorities, so it's unfortunate. But the violence has spread throughout the city. It's not just in the Black or Hispanic neighborhoods. I mean, the violence is everywhere.
And that's where the stigma takes place, you know, not in my backyard, once again. It's not going to happen in my backyard. But it does. I mean, it may not happen as prevalent. It may not be as often, but it does happen. It's common. I mean, I live in the Roxborough area. There's been shootings. I was, you know, a half a block away when the shooting occurred at the high school, and I heard the pops going off like crazy, knowing the difference between firecrackers and gunshots. In my mind, I'm saying to myself, here I am standing in Roxborough in my neighborhood, in my house, and this is what I'm hearing, not what I'm used to connecting. You know, on a Saturday morning to garden, if I hear that, it's not something, you know, and it's a shame to say it like that, but it's happening everywhere now. And because people aren't thinking it's going to be happening in their community, they're doing nothing to prevent it or to address it.
Yeah. Well, I read Billy Penn News, which they actually have great summaries of all the stuff, these numbers and statistics, and it's a great outfit.
Well, that's led by a very good person.
Dania Henninger she's done a tremendous job.
Yours, correct?
She's a friend, and she's been on my show.
Yeah, she has.
And I just contacted her, but she's so busy right now. She said, let's try January, so I hope she'll be here in January.
Nice. But yeah, they do a good job at reporting for the citizens, for the people.
So here's a good summary that was published by them. It's a study about what's going on in the city with the violence. And just one detail that I read in that summary, that putting windows in some of those houses and cleaning up the trash in the neighborhood has helped to reduce crime. So like, really? That doesn't seem like really tremendous solutions, expensive solutions. I mean, put windows in these abandoned homes, because that's how vandals take advantage of going into a place with no doors or no windows or whatever. Yeah. And the trash in the neighborhood, another one.
We've been fighting that for years. I mean, let's face it. Once again, I'm going to bring it back to this city has one of the most expensive or richest, or however you want to look at it, zip codes in our country. Yeah. And it also has one of the poorest zip codes in our country. And when you look at the difference of that, you had people on every corner. You have these huge trash compactors on every single corner. You see no trash because it's being taken care of. You drive down Kensington Avenue and the only trash cans you see are these metal baskets that have fires going on that keep people warm. You don't see a crew out there cleaning up the trash. You don't see people on the corners with brooms and dustpans. You don't see this. The city isn't focusing on it whole, the overall, and they forget that these are people's communities. And the trash has just become overwhelming. We've been addressing it for years. You know, we do city cleanups, you know, they do that, but what else can be done about it? You know, what else can be done? Really? I mean, plus then the city's going to come around, they're going to fine you if your trash cans aren't secure, this and that. Right. But they won't clean up the trash.
But look at the terrible cycle. So you go into a bad neighborhood, several people will go into a bad neighborhood, fix it, fix the homes, fix the neighborhood, put trees, maybe, as you say, trash cans, all that, clean up the neighborhood. Then you have a nice house, you paint, you have, you know, good windows, doors, all that stuff. The city comes in and says, that's beautiful. Now you pay more taxes for that.
See, and that's where the city fails, because the city has money, let's face it. You know, Rebecca Reinhardt, she'll tell you she's running for mayor. Yeah. But the city has money, and the city needs to spend some of it. They need to put some of the grants into the housing for the people who are doing their best behind closed doors, that don't even have, you know, water. They don't have electricity. They don't have heat. The city could put some money into the grants that, you know, slap a coat of paint on their house. Give them a little sense of pride of their neighborhood. We have put murals up in different areas of Kensington, and when we do that, we see a reduced amount of trash. People do not litter around them. They do not dump in front of them. They find that art becomes this beauty part of their community. Right. You know, it's this sanctuary part. So if they did more of that, if they did more of the beautification, if the city cared more to help the residents care more, you know, the residents are fighting a losing battle. It's like spinning their wheels in the mud sometimes.
And there's something even more radical. It's beginning at home with education of our children.
Yes.
You know, really teach them to respect their own property, their own street. Don't throw trash everywhere. And so we were talking about safety. So apparently they put more police around schools for safety for the kids. That's good.
Very good.
There's a headline in Philadelphia, a gas station owner. He hires armed agents to patrol the property.
And one agent spoke out saying that, you know, he carries his semi-automatic around and people don't mess with him then, right? Is that I read the article. He's over on Broad and Lehigh almost, this guy. Yes.
So is that the solution? We put armed guards every place threatening?
I don't, you know, is it a solution? No. What business owners are doing, though, is they're making the best out of what they can with the resources they have to work with to save their businesses, to work for the community and for their families. Because this guy's in the middle of an area where if you take that gas station out, it's going to be a few other blocks before they get to it. Or maybe you have to go to a totally different part. I mean, there's a lot of abandoned. So I look at that. I mean, is it right? No. Do I want the militia back on Kensington Avenue marching like they were? Right. The National Guard? Heck no. that's intimidating, that puts the fear into people that is not needed. There's enough fear out there already. But what are the people going to do? And that's all that they can do. They're not getting help anywhere else.
Well, look, we're about to celebrate the 250 years of this country.
Yes, we are.
And there's a committee right now organizing all the events and all that. Mm-hmm. You remember when Rizzo was in power and he scared everybody to death because there was violence in the streets and there was trash and all that. He put police everywhere. Mm-hmm. As a result, the celebration was like, it wasn't much of a celebration. It was actually like, okay, the city looks good, it's clean, nothing happened, but really nothing happened, or very little. I don't have any memory of those celebrations being anything memorable.
Right.
So we don't want to do that. What you say is true, but how do we solve the problems of crime and poverty and safety and all that?
Once again, education.
We need good education. We also need good political leadership.
Well, that right there is a no-brainer. Even somebody who's not as intelligent like me knows that. You know that you need good people in power. Like it starts at the top.
Yeah.
And if the people at the top put the right people underneath them, it all falls into place. Yeah. You build a team that's going to complement the success of everybody. And I don't see that happening. Once again, it's a me thing is what they're looking at. It should be that it's a we thing because it affects all of us.
Yeah.
Political, but I mean, the climate of this city and the political nature is ridiculous. We need to take it back. The people need to do something.
Now, you're familiar with the drug addiction problem more than I am. You know a lot of stuff. What is the solution for that?
You know, I don't know if there is a solution for substance use disorder. I think what it is, it's like anything else because, you know, it is classified as a disease by the CDC. You know, societal diseases are classified as diseases by the CDC. And, you know, I think what it is anything that's classified or treated as a disease, they need to look for a cure. And since there aren't really cures in a lot of it because the money is really in the, you know. But so you got to look at the reasons why. And with substance use disorder, there's so many different reasons why. So many people that are in addiction are there for many different reasons. However, one of the major reasons that we see that people are in addiction is because of trauma, because of a traumatic experience that has happened to them in the past that needs to be addressed. And I think that's what we fail at as a society is recognizing trauma, because so many of us were raised to believe you shouldn't have issues. You should just let them go, forget about them, smile, and go about your day.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were raised that way. A lot of people are taught, you know, even with men, it's not masculine to show your emotion or talk about your mental health or to talk about your issues. And when you suppress that for so many years, you're going in a downward spiral. That's where a lot of the addiction comes in. So.
Yeah, well, it seems to be like poverty and drug addiction, all these problems that seem to have such grasp in our community, grip in our communities, and we seem to be unable to deal with them.
No, and the thing is, a lot of these things go hand in hand then because they will lead to the other. You know, a lot of it leads to mental health. Mental health leads to, that depression aspect that could put you into a poverty cycle for the simple aspect you're not working, you're not doing what you need to do for you to be able to be successful. And with that could put you into a state of substance use disorder because now you're going to start utilizing drugs as a mask it all. So it's, once again, it's all a cycle, and, it's part of the system, and we know the system's broken.
Yeah. I know somebody who recovered, like yourself, somebody who recovered from that is a very productive citizen right now. I would like to talk to him, invite him over so we can chat with him.
You should. And one thing to remember real quick is the person never recovered. The person's in recovery.
In recovery.
Because there's a minute that you could walk out that door and somebody could say the wrong thing to me and I'm going to be like, you know what? I'm going to go bang it back.
Right.
So, but I just want, and that's a stigma that I've learned too.
understand.
No, it's cool. It's just a stigma. It's the learning.
It's the language.
It's like you correcting me about Trump or something.
Use the proper language. Anyway.
Yes, verbiage.
So we have reached the end of this program. Thank you, Britt.
You're welcome.
Señores
Thank
oyentes de Usala Medias, ya hemos llegado al final de esta edición de La Mesa Redonda. Muchas gracias por su sintonía. Se despide Fernando Mendez en compañía de Britt Carpenter y Dylan de Rosato dirigió este programa. Hasta la próxima. Greetings from the city of brotherly love. I am Fernando Mendez, host of the Roundtable. We invite you to listen to our discussion of the themes of the day when we bring you regional, national, and international news.